everyone. So this week we are going to talk about blog posts, and as many of you know, blog posts are really great for creating new content for your website to build up trust and credibility, something that you can share with your clients and potential clients as helpful resources. And of course, Google loves that you continuously have new content. So the thing that happens very often is, first of all, people are quite reluctant sometimes to write blogging, especially those of us who are not that keen on writing. We don't feel very comfortable with it. So one way I'm going to start this kind of masterclass about what you can do with your blog, how much you can make out of it to really get the full potential. The first thing is really like, how do you find the right topics? And I don't think it's as difficult as it might seem initially, because you will sit there and think, what can I write about? What can I write about? You know, the blank page. And what usually helps is just to think about the conversations that you usually have with people that you help in your environment, things that people keep coming to you to ask about that is related to your business and business services, of course. And generally, if you already have clients, what are the topics that you keep talking about? Are they topics that keep repeating themselves? And sometimes it doesn't need to be a huge thing. It's usually topics that you talk about every day in any case. And if you just have a conversation with a friend and talk about your business, for example, let's say you need some help to have another person help you finding out what to write about, just sit down with a friend and ask your friends like, hey, ask me about my business and what I'm doing every day. And as you have the conversation going, just write down all the different topics that come up. That is a great start to just realize that you have a lot of things that you can share in a blog post. And it doesn't need to be a really long, complicated thing. Google does like longer blog posts, but if you find that that is too much work, it's better to do any blog post than not at all. So that is just kind of the starting point. Get over that fear of coming up with something that sounds professional and is in a certain way. Usually the skills and the knowledge you have, the way you explain it in person to someone is a perfect way to explain it as well online in a little blog post entry. So having said that, I'm going to share my screen and show you as well how do you get started with blog posts and what are all the different things to think about, because it's not just to paste the text in there and click publish. You can do that, of course. It's better than nothing, but there's much more to it in terms of images and categories and, of course, SEO. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'm here on my backend on WordPress. So I'll show you how this works on WordPress. If you use any other system, there will be a very similar layout in terms of there will be a place where it says that you can add new blog posts. So I'm just going to click here, add new, and start with a new one. So, and for the sake of ease, I will simply copy one that I had before. So I'm just going to paste in here the title. I'm going to paste in, don't worry about all these codes and stuff. You don't need to worry about that. But basically, this blog post looks like this on the front end. It's about online business success steps. And the first thing I kind of want to say, I'm not going to go into exactly how to do the formatting, because I have a separate masterclass about how to do formatting in a way that makes it easy to read. But I will mention that it is important to try to format a little bit your text. So as you see here, one thing to try to do is to think about keeping your paragraphs short. 3 to 4 lines are usually enough before you start another paragraph. So try to avoid having really long paragraphs, because it's just easier for people to digest online when they skim through. I am a fan of kind of highlighting the first sentence in bold or highlighting some of the important sentences in the blog post so that the people who are skimming through, it's easy for them to pick out what is the important information. And as you see, when you write your text or when you review your text, if there's anything that can be stated as bullet points, that's also a super good way to kind of emphasize a few things that is more like a list format, easier to digest as a reader. And using colors, just use different colors on different sentences that you kind of want to stand out a little bit. Or even like individual words like I've done here. And this is just a heading. I think it's like a heading 2 that is already pre-formatted, but you can always kind of format it on your website, looking at that other masterclass if you're interested in that. I have these fancy boxes that's not so easy to achieve unless you know some CSS, so don't worry about that. If you do want to know how to create these boxes, then reach out and I can tell you the secret. But yeah, just keep in mind, you know, that your formatting is as easy as possible. And nowadays as well, if you feel like doing like emojis, people like emojis these days. So just try to think that when I look at this page, do I feel it's easy to just pick out the things that are important? And is it easy to read without feeling that, oh, I have to really concentrate now? Because that is the best way to approach anything online these days, considering people's attention span, and we're all, overwhelmed with too much information. So I have here, let's see, I'm going to go to the visual editor. Let's say you've written your blog post, you formatted it nicely, you're super happy about it, and you click publish. But before you do that, another thing to keep in mind is that WordPress has categories. And when you start to write more blog posts, and maybe you realize that they really belong into 2 categories or 3 categories, like maybe you're a life coach and you write maybe some articles that is really about careers and improving in your career, and some others are more about kind of mental health or whatever it is that you're working on. Sometimes it's really good to click here. You can add new categories. As you see, I have quite a few categories that have developed over the years, but I think recommended people say having like 6-7 main categories is okay, like a maximum. If you just have 2, that's perfect. But the really good thing about categories, going to my page here, I have in my sidebar, I have a list over the categories that I currently use. And whatever blog posts you write, and when you tick it into, let's say I tick for this blog post here, I tick for online business success tip for this in particular. So when I click on this category here, because WordPress automatically creates a category page once you create a category. In my theme, my template, my website template, I have the option to actually even add a header. That doesn't happen for all of the themes, so that depends a little bit. But generally, people have the option also to go and read only your blog post, like see this blog post list only of blog posts that belongs to a certain category. So here they will only see the list of blog posts that I have that are related to online business success. If I go to like website techie stuff, I only have 1 here, and I actually a bit curious which one that is. But yeah, basically just how to not let it drive you crazy, which is a good message to myself this week, because tech stuff has driven me a bit crazy and I should laugh ahead. So yeah, that's just to let you know that it's quite good to use categories if you have a lot of different blog posts. And you have also tags. I don't use tags, but tags you can also use. It's like kind of similar to hashtags that goes a little bit more next level from the category. So usually I would like do a category first, and if you want to use tags, then you can add quite different ones that reflects a little bit more about the different parts of the content of your blog post. If you have questions about this, ask them in the Facebook group, because I'm always super happy to help you understand more how it works and reply to any questions you have. A second thing that is super important is like images. First of all, when you upload an image to your blog post, make sure that it's not too big. You don't want it to be like 4 megabytes, and you don't want it to be 5,000 pixels wide, because it's gonna weigh down your website. And if you upload many big pictures, it will slow down your website. It's one of the biggest problems that people have, and their website goes slow. Either it's because the hosting server might not be the best one because it's a shared server, or because they have uploaded a lot of big pictures and the website is like, whirr. So have a look at another masterclass I already done as well that teaches you everything about how to manage your images. Okay, never mind that little pop-up, just my little security system here. Okay, so having said that, when you have prepared your image, it's ideally, less than 100 kilobytes if you're really good, and you have uploaded it to your media library. You can click here, add media, and you pick it up from your media library. Just a side note here, you can click on any image that you uploaded here, and you can actually see how big it is. It's 124 kilobytes, this one, perfect, totally acceptable size, and it's 1600 by 2200, which is quite wide. But it's, it's not a big heavy picture. So you can basically just insert it in the post and you will have it here. And what also needs to be done that people keep forgetting, you also have to set it as a featured image. So let me see what is the name of this image so I can find it. Online business, well, we'll see. Okay, so I'm gonna go and add here. First of all, I'm gonna add the category. I'm gonna add a featured image. So basically it just brings you to the library. I can see if I can find this picture quickly here. Yeah, okay, so I pick this up, set as featured image, because this image is what will show up when you have a list of blog posts like we had here on the category page or on your main blog page. So when I go to any kind of page that is related to the blog where it lists excerpts of the different blog posts, this picture is picked up by the featured image. If you don't set a featured image, most themes on WordPress will try to find an image in your text and use that one. But sometimes it's like you put a little image that you don't really want to be the featured image, and that is what WordPress chooses to show here, or nothing. So that doesn't look so nice. The best is for you to say, hey, blog post, this picture is what I want to show first, and to show as the featured image, especially if you have different images. We can definitely add more than one image to the blog post. Images are a great way to cut up big kind of text when you have a lot of contents, just to make it easier to see when you read it. So let me see what I promised you in this masterclass. How to get started, how to make it easy to read. Yes, use of images. Yeah, categories, tags, set a featured image. So just going to go back to the categories and the tags. You can create them here from the side. The ones that are already created, you see here. And here you can add new ones, but you also have here in the category section that you can manage categories on their own without being inside a blog post. So if you decide to create 5 different categories, what I would do here is to go here and just click add the name of the category. The slug will create itself, so don't worry about that. And click add new category. And it will, yeah, the slug means this kind of part of the URL. So you see here, this one here is kind of the slug. So for those of you who want to geek out and understand that, that's how it works. But now to the very most important part, the thing that everyone is wooing about is like SEO. And I think for blog posts in particular, SEO is important because you will basically now tell Google, hey, this is what this blog post is about. If someone's searching for this, please keep me in mind for showing me in the search results. And in WordPress, you usually find this at the end here. You just keep scrolling down. Yoast SEO is the plugin I use. If you have another website, usually this section will still be below your actual text blog post or maybe in the sidebar. It will be there somewhere, and usually it's not hard to find. So the important thing is always to have like one key phrase for that blog post, at least for the free version. I know if you pay for Yoast SEO, you can add more than kind of one set of keywords. But for me, I just use the free version. So I'm going to add one keyword. And I think for this one, I use the keyword online business. Just going to see what I already had here. Online business, exactly. So what happens? Well, first of all, I'll see like you'll see your SEO results here. Now it's great because I didn't put anything in. So let me go in and put in here, focus key phrase, online business. So it tells me, it turns orange. So it means, okay, I've registered your keyword, but there's a lot of things you can do to improve it. And you can also here add like a special SEO title and slug for your thing. Usually I don't change that unless I really want to. Maybe I want the slug to be shorter. I can just maybe do online business success and do like this. Meta description is quite important. So you want your keyword to be in the meta description. Meta description is that little snippet of text that shows up under the title, like when you search something on Google. So let me see. Let's see, I'm going to go to search Gorgeous Geek in Google. And you see, this is the part, this is the snippet. So if your blog post shows up in the search results, this snippet is what you can kind of manipulate here in the meta description. If you don't have a meta description, it will automatically just take the first sentences of your blog post, and that's not always so great. So I'm just going to use a sentence here now, but you will find a sentence that you find summarizes well your blog post. You make sure that your keyword is in there. So the keyword online business should be there. It's orange because it also wants some more words. Make sure you, for example, so now it's happy, it's green. Also, if I keep writing here, now it will tell me at some point, it's like, now it's too long. So always keep an eye on this. It tells you this basically because this is what's going to be visible when people search. If you write longer, it doesn't make a big difference, but it might get cut off. As you see here in Google, some of my text here would have gotten cut off, you know, like here, and you can't read or less. So there's no point having a really long sentence. And you have this SEO analysis. So I click here, drop down, and it will give me all the hints of what I can improve to make that orange turn into green. So there's no outbound links. It kind of likes to have links to other pages. So that's something you can add. You would like to do key phrase in the introduction. Yeah, so now I sometimes find it kind of hard to get that to get red, and you don't need all the red ones to turn green. As long as you get enough of them to green, that it will be happy with it. SEO title width is wider than the viewable limit. Okay, so if I change my SEO title here, I'm going to remove all these codes that is there, and I will just be online business success steps. What else can I add here to make it green? Steps. Oh, where did SEO go? It's a little bit like scrolling up and down depending how much other stuff. Learn the important parts. So here you can just add something so that this line turns green, which means that it has moved that to further down. That is green now. Okay, so I just had to figure out, what this was about, but it's actually because I already have a blog post with exactly that same keyword, because now I made a copy of that blog post. So this is just a warning that wouldn't be there. And I had another problem here that I kind of resolved. It said it needed some outbound links. That means it needs a link going to a place outside your website. That is kind of a good thing. But some cases it doesn't make sense to have that. Other situations it makes sense. So if there's an article you want to refer to, or someone's website you want to refer to, whatever, having an outbound link is good. And I kind of just added here for the SEO purposes now, here's a link, and I linked that to Google. But you have to think about for yourself if there's anything you can link to. What I'm trying to do is basically look through the different things that it asks for to improve that score. And as soon as I get a green light, then I'm okay with it. Don't try to make everything green. At some point, you actually write for people more than for Google, but you would like to make it as Google friendly as possible, but still keeping in mind that if you don't have an outbound link to add, then don't add an outbound link. And it's also not a very big deal if not every one of your blog posts actually reach the green light. If it's orange, it's okay as well. Sometimes we write about topics that don't reach the green light, and that's okay. So yeah, that was kind of the masterclass for today. If you have any questions, then let me know. If you are here actually live with me, then I will look at your comments in the Facebook group, and I will answer you anything that you have questions about. Or if you catch up with this video on YouTube later, feel free to reach out to me, join my Facebook group, and just ask questions there anytime. You're always welcome to do that. So yeah, thank you guys.